G'day you beautiful people, it's Max here. This is our third week on How Does My Garden Grow. We're nearly ready to start harvesting, give another 5 odd days. I also have a surprise segment at the end of this video, stay tuned for that, and I'll show you how to improve that garden. So let's go take a closer look, see what we've got growing. Let's go. Alright, and here we are down at the trenches. As you can see, the garden is really starting to take shape. We're about to give it its morning water. Alright, let's go and give it a closer look as to what we've got growing. Alright, so right here we've got some bok choy. This is the one I call the fat leaf bok choy. It'll actually spring out to something around that range. That's the kind of range you want to be harvesting at. Alright, now we've had a bit of munch from insects, but so far so good. After coming out those couple of nights and getting rid of some of the snails that have been hanging around the place. You got your okra there, still not liking its exact area. Might have to do some research as to whether it needs less water or not, but otherwise it might need a different type of nutrient. The butternut pumpkin, check it out, it's got big leaves. It's gonna get bigger than that. It's got there, those leaves can be huge and they can actually cover up a lot of the ground. That's why you don't want to have anything growing around it. You want to give it enough space for it to grow. There's the other okra, still tiny there, not growing much. Still, we've had a couple of leaves that come out, so it's still all good. Everything is all good. This one here has been chomped a bit now by the bugs, so we're gonna have to take another look into that. If we come around this side, and we'll see more of that bok choy that's going to come up. We've also got some Chinese cabbage that's coming up. This one here is a spinach that's just grown out of randomness. These two here, this one here and this one here are your broccoli. They've come up too. What else we got over there? Is another spinach just growing out of randomness. These are the beetroots that I planted in last week, still small, still taking their foothold as to where and how they're going to decide to grow. There's nothing in the onion territory. I've decided to try a different method to get them to germinate. There's a little bee making its way in this world. It's probably out of it now. I'm not even sure he can even gonna fly, but there we are. A couple of garden bugs to come and visit. I get a couple of wasps come in and they're all doing their business. Here's some more of that spinach type that's growing. They're all doing quite nicely. That one there with its purple colour, that's a Swiss chard. Same type, same plant as a spinach. I've also started growing the lettuce because they didn't germinate or anything out there, so hopefully the second batch will get going. I've put a lot more to make sure to see if we can get any action going on there. A little lettuce that I found that was growing randomly from my last year's batch. This one's nice and big, almost at the point of harvesting. This one here is your snow peas. Now with that clinger there, over to the trellis, See if we can't get that little bugger hooked on. There we go. So we'll just see if we can see that. Right, other side of the garden, we'll get our chilies growing, doing nice and well there. The 2 capsicums that I tried to place in there and there, probably not their time of year now for them. Another potato started there, and the other 2 potatoes growing nicely. Alright, so last week I mentioned that your bok choys, those leafy vegetables, they like a temperature degrees on the ground, in the ground, of around 23 degrees. Now when it comes to the capsicums and germinating, they like their temperature 23 degrees and above. And so with germination, that's when it counts. So if they're not getting their requirements, they're not germinating, and we're not going to have a crop. For those that are established capsicums, that's a different story. They can still be producing right now, but the key element is when you got to start producing them. Capsicums like from spring to summer, because that's their growth period. Coming down now that we're nearly at the winter time, we've probably got about another month to go before it becomes winter, and it's not going to have as amazing results as if we're on the other end of the year where we can get better ones. Alright, now as I've mentioned to you before, I'm going to give you a tip as to how to save a bit of water during your veggie garden process. So let's go and have a look. Alright, so we're over at my truck, and what I've bought here is some straw. And this straw, what we're going to do is we're going to take some out, and when the veggies got that little bit bigger where they are roughly now, and we're going to lay it around, and then that should give an extra bit of protection to the evaporation of any water that collects down there, and it will also help out with the temperature fluctuations of the ground. Alright, and fun fact about this straw too. When I first used what I thought was straw, hay, to me it was all the same. No idea what's the difference. Straw, hay, what's the difference, right? So as I found out, the difference is if you have a grain plant, the top of it gets harvested for its grains, gets swept into a machine. That middle to bottom part is the straw part, and that's the stuff that makes the difference. If you buy hay, it comes with a lot of seed. So what happens with the seed, if we go and plant it down there, is we're going to have a whole lot of random, obviously hay, whatever the hay was, start germinating and start growing. Not exactly what you want for it. But the straw part, now that's the stuff you want to be putting down, because that stuff don't carry any extra seeds. It'll do its job. It'll protect your evaporation in your soil, and it'll make the conditions down in the soil a bit more flatlined, so you can keep a constant temperature of exactly what you want and what you need. Fun fact, eh? Who would have known? But there you are. Alright, so I'm going to go and put a bit of hay down at the Alright, so I'm going to go and put a bit of straw down in the garden bed, and we're going to have a look at how it works out. Let's go. All the weeds that are hanging around. Have to dig it up a little bit, take them out. That way we can take out the root system as it comes along. Now we're being careful not to disrupt anything. This might be a plant there, this might be, I'm not quite sure exactly what they are, but certainly it's not grass, so we can get rid of that grass bit. Right, if you ever get any mushrooms growing, just leave them alone. They're actually curating the soil for you and doing a lot of wonders to the soil, so just keep them there. Don't pluck them out, leave them there. It's exactly what you need in your garden. Alright, so we've cleared this lot of soil up. Alright, we got ourselves our straw. Prop the plants up through there. Make sure they're good to go. Alright, so quite easy. We've covered the soil. We're only going to put it on lightly. When it wets and all that, it'll go down. We might be able to recoat it a little bit, but right now that's pretty much where you want it to be at. And now what we'll do is we'll cover the whole area here that we need to cover. And when we come close, just need to be careful with the other root system of the plant you actually want to keep. Pluck around it ever so gently. Make sure when you're grabbing them, you're grabbing the root system. I want to leave it there. If you're not, then you gotta just scoop it up a bit. So dig it underneath a little bit and they'll come out quite easy. Alright, so we've got it as clean as we're going to get it. And now ever so gently around the plants, giving them enough room for them to be able to grow through. Don't give them any trouble that they can climb, so try to stick them in. Alright, so as you can have a look, we've got most of this area now covered. Just a little spot just there. We'll fix that up and have it all covered. I'm not going to do any of the rest of it just yet. I'd like it to grow obviously a little bit more than what it has, but I'm actually still going to cover up these snow peas as well, just around that area. Alright, and I've covered up the snow peas, making sure that they can still grow from that area. And there's another spinach that's growing just there, and another one. Alright, heading over now. Let's go turn the water on and soak it down a little bit. And there you have it, guys. That's week number 3 covered on how does my garden grow. We'll see you next week, and may your plants grow more than you. See you then.